All right, welcome back to the show this week, where our guest is one Mason Sawyer. Mason was born and raised in West Jordan, Utah, where he has excelled as a point guard and was a very dedicated basketball player. His athletic accomplishments included being an all-state basketball player, regional most outstanding player, was an all-academic region team, got scholarship offers in college, obviously went to play college basketball at Utah Tech, formerly Dixie State. Um, then he graduated, had a degree in psychology, went back to his alma mater, West Jordan High School, to coach, which is fantastic. I've done that myself upon graduating, was able to go back to my alma mater. That's a special deal. And then was presented an opportunity to move to St. George, Utah, where he was going to get involved with the basket as a basketball skills trainer with the Nets on Fire. Um, since that time has been through a decent amount of adversity, I will say, and has come up with a 1090 principle that he has decided to, kind of rule his life with, and has turned into, became a public speaker, has a podcast. The 1090 principle is the podcast. He has a website, the 1090.com, or that is the website, the1090.com. 10 is the number, 90 is spelled out. I will put all this in the show notes. You can find him on Instagram, which is how I found him, at 1090 Rule, or on Facebook, Mason Sawyer. First of all, Mason, thank you so much for agreeing to come on today and have a conversation.
Dude, are you kidding me? I love it. High school football coach. Let's go. I love football.
Awesome. Well, us basketball and football guys got to stick together. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have some great basketball players in our school that play football, and it's a tremendous sport to help our guys. If you can play basketball, if you can run, jump, and catch, you can play wide receiver. Or if you're a point guard, you can play quarterback because you understand distributing the football. Well, long story short, I had a friend send me a clip of you on Instagram that you were telling your story to a group that you were speaking to, and man, I'm just gonna be honest. When I got through watching it, I honestly had tears in my eyes because I don't know, man. It impacted me in such a manner that I went online, found your email, emailed you, and asked you, would you share your story? And so I want to get into it a little bit. And we also are joined by Chance Potts, where the listeners of this show know he has shared his story on here before. And, I thought Chance would be great to sit in. If he has a question, he may ask a question. He may not. He may just listen, but he has experienced some, very difficult times in his life too. I guess the first thing I would like to ask you, because this story really hit home with me, and the message from the story was, the story of your brother, and the phone call to go box a guy that maybe he wasn't in the league of that guy. Like, that story was amazing to me, and what he kept telling his trainer in the corner, like, I think kind of sets the stage for where we're going.
Yeah, so my brother Race, he was a high school wrestler. And so, I mean, you've been around high school wrestlers. They're a certain breed, like cauliflower ear, like bring it on, like
They
whatever.
tough dudes.
Yeah. And I'm the youngest of five kids. My brother Race was in the middle. And our older brother Sage, he was a really good high school football player. And I love basketball, but I think every day of my life growing up, I was in some type of headlock, leg lock. My brother Race, it was brutal, man. But he was a good high school wrestler. He actually won a state championship his senior year in high school. I think he wrestled 140, so kind of a smaller guy. And then after high school, he started doing like those weird, like WWF wrestling at
Yeah,
dive bars, like
yeah.
like these old drunk guys just slapping each other across the chest. And Ric Flair, woo, like it's not very good. But my brother Race's fights were usually pretty good. Like he'd do some cool stuff. Anyway, he did that for a little bit, and then he finally, I think in his 30s, he started doing the MMA stuff. And my brother Race, he's a good grappler. Like if he gets you on the ground or like if he gets a hold of you, you're in trouble. But he's not a great boxer, like never a boxer really. And because of that, he started doing boxing matches, of course, right? He's like, well, I need to get better at boxing. So he just started taking these fights. And he'd win some, lose some, kind of a 500 fighter, like whatever. And then one fight, he fractures his hand and can't really train anymore. And he has a day job. He has 3 kids. He's married. So he's kind of like, maybe I just hang this up, getting old. So that's kind of where he's at. And a couple months go by. And then the number one amateur boxer in the world um, is having his boxing debut, which I was told means if this guy needs one more win, if he gets it, he can now take professional fights. Like he's legit. So this guy's like good. He's a pro basically.
Right.
And the guy he's supposed to fight, I don't know what happened, but the guy he's supposed to fight can't do it last second. And they're just scrambling to find someone to come fight this guy. And it's at Madison Square Garden in New York. Like this is the real deal. And they can't find anyone. And so they call my brother Race's trainer in Utah to ask him, like, will you come fight this guy? He's like, nah, I'm not fighting that guy. And he's like, do you know anyone like crazy enough that could just would want to take this fight? And he's like, I might know a guy. And so he calls my brother Race, who's crazy enough to do it. And so he tells my brother the deal. And my brother's like, Madison Square Garden. Like, I'm there. And he's like, no, like, you're going to fight this guy. And he's like, dude, you're telling me free trip to New York with my family. I get a fight in Madison Square Garden and you're going to pay me a little bit? Like, I already won. Sign me up. So my brother Race is like, I'll fight him. So he picks up the fight. And like, John, it's not a Rocky movie. It's not like you run up some stairs and you flip a tire and you're in shape. Like he hasn't been training. He's coming off this fractured hand. And so he gets to New York and he gets to weigh-ins and he's 12 pounds overweight. And they're not happy. Like, dude, you said you could fight him. We need this fight to go through. Like, what the hell? He's like, don't worry. Like, I was a high school wrestler. I cut weight all the time. Like, I'll be back. So my brother Race goes back to his hotel and he goes to the bathroom and he cranks the shower as hot as it will go. And then he puts on hoodies and blankets. And then he stuffs the bottom of the door with a blanket and just creates a sauna and sits in this thing for 10, 15 minutes. And then he gets out and runs and then back into the hotel. And he just does that over and over until he loses 12 pounds. He goes back to weigh-ins, makes weigh-ins. So then he gets food after or whatever. And then the fight is on. Like the fight is on. Ding, ding. So like you have this guy who's ready to go pro, in shape, like locked and loaded. And then you have my brother Race, who on a healthy, good day, average fighter, like at his best, he's just kind of learning the ropes. And then he just dropped 12 pounds coming off this fractured hand, like not good for my brother. So they step into the ring together and ding, ding, and then ding, ding, fight is over. And it didn't go well for my brother. He got his ass kicked bad. Like hard to watch. Like his wife like couldn't even really watch it. And it's so bad they make him go to the hospital after. And he's like, I don't know if I can afford a hospital visit. And they're like, no, you're dumb. Like, we'll pay for it. Like, you're messed up right now. Like, we need you to the hospital. So they get my brother to the hospital and he has 2 black eyes and cuts around his face. He has broken ribs. And he said the worst part was his tongue. He almost bit his tongue off.
Mm.
And even with the pad, like, and the mouthpiece, like, almost bit his tongue off. So why even bring the story up? Like, where are we going with this? But the reason I love the fight is there's a beautiful letter or email that the referee of the fight actually sent to my brother, just really talking about how well he carried himself and how brave he was and the respect and honor that he showed, which is really cool. But my favorite part of the story, and one that really hits home to me in my own life with the things I've gone through, is my brother Race. He went every second of every round of that fight. And it was brutal from the get-go, like not good. And they go to the corners in between rounds to talk strategy. I'm not a boxer, like I don't know, but watch out for the hook or like whatever. And there wasn't a whole lot to say for them. They're like, dude, he's good and you wanted to fight him. So like I don't like what do we and so like what it came down to for my brother is he pretty much just told the trainer, like, hey, like you just can't throw in the white towel. You can't. If you throw in the white towel, then I lose. Like he can KO me and you drag my body out of here, or I go the distance with this guy. But you can't do. I know it looks bad, but you can't do that to me. And my brother definitely didn't win the fight, but I think in a different way, in my mind anyway, he very much did win the fight. And the way I relate this to my life is my family was traveling back from a family vacation. This was July 25th, 2021, so almost 3 years ago. And my brother Race was actually driving. I couldn't go to the family reunion because I was working. Race's wife couldn't go because she was working. So my family, my wife Courtney, and my three kids, Riggins, Blue, and Frankie, drove with my brother Race and my brother Race's youngest son Ryder to our family reunion. And on the way back from that family reunion, they were on the interstate freeway in Fillmore, Utah, and there was a big dust storm that came out of nowhere. I don't know a whole lot of details still, but there's dust storm and it engulfed the highway and it caused a 22 car pile up and it killed 8 people. And 5 of those 8 people were my family. And including my brother Race. And I just feel like since that day, I just kind of related to my brother. I've entered this fight, even though I didn't choose this fight like my brother did, but I'm in this fight now, whether I like it or not. And it's a fight that you can't win because, I mean, I could give the best motivational speech or I could give the best podcast or, whatever, but I'm not getting any of them back. So you're going to lose. And that you're not, I mean, and it's just so much like my brother because not only do you know you're not going to win, you're just going to get your ass kicked. Like you wake up and the survivor's guilt and the grief of losing your wife. I mean, my wife Courtney is my high school sweetheart. Gone. My son Riggins gone. Daughter Frankie gone. Brother Race gone. Nephew Ryder gone. And but I think my brother Race set a good example of there's some honor and glory and finishing this thing. And I'm trying to figure out, what that really means and what's the best way to finish this thing. Right now it's motivational speaking and podcasting. And I think the number one thing I should say before that is being a father to Blue. Blue survived the car accident. And if I remember my buddy was driving me to the hospital because they were life flighting Blue. And it was unclear if it was even Blue in the first place or if it was Blue, if he's alive. And I remember telling my buddy that was driving me there, I told him, like, if this isn't Blue, like, I'm going to kill myself. Like, I'm going to kill myself. But it was Blue. And that kid in the in the absolute darkness of my life, walking into that hospital room and seeing him was just this, within all that misery was just this little feeling of hope and joy and love. Um, I think I'm just kind of rambling now, but after that car accident, it was, I wanted to die because maybe I see him again or the pain would stop at least. Like that sounds great, but I could never do that because of Blue. So I was like in this weird limbo of not wanting to live, not wanting to die. And I ran from it from so long, and then I decided to face it and feel it, and do something about it. And so then I started making videos, and you saw one of them, and now here I am on your podcast.
Well, you know, man, like, I'm extremely sorry to hear, about the loss. Like that's, I can't even imagine, and I've had friends in my life that have, lost people. And, if you've never lost anybody, you can't truly know what that feels like. So I do not pretend to know that. I think the lesson that your brother gave you, I think the phrase, you just can't throw in the white towel, exist because, as you said, there were times when, obviously you thought about not being around, but, like if you just set the standard that I'm not going to throw in the white towel, then I can figure it out from here. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
can figure this out. And, I guess my first question is, was there a turning point, other than, your son making it? But I'm going to say, you know, before a while, obviously it was a struggle. Was there something that, was there a turning point into, I'm going to try to do something to help other people, to grow from this, which is, where the podcast started, or, where you started talking about it online? Was there something that led you to do that? What was that?
Yeah, I think, well, first of all, I think I just want to say, grief is it's a life sentence. There's no getting away from it. So, uh, I am very much still going through it and haven't gotten through anything. But I have learned a lot of things along the way. And I think, I don't know if I had a turning point, but a big step of me changing how I viewed this thing was I started going to therapy. And I always thought therapy before the car accident in my family was for sissy.
Sure.
That's how I like, I don't, I just,
Sure.
that's how I always viewed it. And I definitely didn't want to talk because talking about it makes it very real. And so, I mean, that's why no one wants to talk about anything.
Sure.
Even though it's real, it's very, very real. If you don't talk about it, people are left in confusion, and it's just you kind of stay away from the pain, sure, but like you feel crazy, kind of. At least I did. And so I don't want to talk about it because it just opens up the wounds. But
Sure.
I try it. I go to therapy and I hate it. Like I walk in there, they have like hot, like how many hours a night are you sleeping? What are you eating? And I'm just like, dude, like I honestly I don't even know, first of all. And then like
Sure.
I just didn't like it. And but I tried different therapists, which I think is important to mention. Like if you really want to go to therapy, like it's just like buying a car or a house or even dating. Like shop around a little bit.
Sure.
And I finally found this guy named Matt Quackenbush who deals with like people with intense trauma. And I kind of had a strategy when I'd go to see my therapist. I'd tell him the night of the accident, like I just told you, and then I'd look at him and say, I don't want to live, but I can't kill myself because of Blue. And then I'd just stare at him. And no one really had anything good to say. Like, and I liked it. Like, yeah, screw you. This sucks. And so I do this to Matt. So I say that to Matt, and Matt looks at me and he says, Mason, this car accident's not about you, actually. And it's not about your son, Blue. And I'm just kind of pissed off, honestly. Like, what are you even talking about? And he said, Mace, this car accident is about every other person that you can now help. And then he said, the car accident is an opportunity for you. And I got mad again, like in my head. Like I'm not saying anything to him, but in my own head, I'm like, what are you even talking about? Like, and he said, this is an opportunity. And then he started asking me questions. He said, Mason, what are some feelings that you feel? And I said, I hate myself. Uh, should have been in the car. I hate myself. And he said, yeah, survivor's guilt. There's so many people that are suffering from that. He's like, what else do you feel? I said, I feel so alone. I feel so alone. I can be in a room full of 100 people and I just feel completely alone. And he said, yeah, so many people feel like that. And then he said, he said, Mason, somewhere tomorrow, someone's going to lose a spouse and a son and a daughter and a brother and a nephew. So you could help all of them if you want. He's like, and if you want to lay in bed and drink yourself to death or put a gun in your mouth, like you can. And I don't think anyone would blame you. But like, if you want, Mason, you have a hell of an opportunity to help a lot of people. And I think that I didn't like walk out of that room like skipping, like, oh, like I'll be the 1090 guy now. But that was a stepping stone for me where I remember, and I don't remember what else we talked about in that therapy session. Like the other 55 minutes, I don't even remember really, but I remember the feeling like leaving his house, like breath of hope, and like maybe he's right, and started questioning this thing. And one thing I realized was if I sit around, poor me, why me? Um, and I just try to numb the pain, that's what the car accident's gonna mean. That's why it happened. So I think I learned like, hey, life's 10% what happens to you, 90% what you're gonna do about it. So Mace, like if you open your mouth and you tell other people how you feel and you can relate to other people who are grieving and going through difficult times, like you can make this car accident mean something good. And that's what Courtney would do. That's what Race would do. That's what Riggins would do. That's what Frankie would do. That's what Ryder would do. And that's just kind of how I see life now. Like, I don't think there is a purpose to life. I don't think there's any purpose to your life. It's up to you to give it a purpose. It's up like blank canvas. Here's the pen. What are you going to do? And before I thought like there is like everything, there was like a plan, everything kind of happened. But now I'm just like, hey, like good things happen to terrible people, terrible things happen to good people. It's just order and chaos. And really all we have control over is how we're going to react to things. And so, I have a lot of bad days still where I struggle, but I like to think that I'm trying to make good things happen from the worst thing.
Mason, I appreciate you sharing and I feel your pain through the screen, like I feel that and I know that's real. A couple things you said that I think is important. Number one, if there are people who are listening that are struggling with anything, finding a therapist is not wrong. Like I was raised like that too. Like, like if I had told my parents I wanted to go see a therapist, they would have probably they might have punched me, but I don't know what would happen.
Oh,
But that's
especially
not
your day
wrong.
and age, man.
That's not wrong. Like there's nothing wrong with finding somebody to talk to. There are people in this world that are trained professionals that are there to help. And the second part is if you don't like the one that, you go to, find another one. You know what I'm saying? Like find your Mac Quackenbush, right? Because they're out there. There are people that can help you. And you're, this was a phrase I've heard several times. Your mess can become your message, like the mess that we sometimes find can turn into a message, and your message is going to help other people, and I think that's something that everybody would be proud of, like that's something that, is taking something bad and making something positive out of it, for other people. So, I appreciate that. And I didn't say before, but the 1090 deal was what he, actually just talked about is, life is 10% what happens and 90% what you do about it, how you respond. And, we have a R factor that we teach that we don't control the events in our life, right? We just don't. And we don't control the outcomes. What we do control is how we respond. And our response will influence the outcome that we do have. Coach Potts, I would love for you if you would, because Mason doesn't, like he doesn't know, man. Like I would love for you to share, a little bit about your story and, and then I know you had a question too, but, I would love for you to share, a little bit about that and how, you and your family and your wife have dealt with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mason, man, I appreciate you sharing what you're sharing and stepping out with the courage and the strength that you have. Um, so powerful. My wife and I have been together a little over 30 years now. We've raised four boys. Our oldest is 31. We have two sons that are 21 and 15 still. We lost our son Landon the night before Thanksgiving 2014 in an auto accident, where there were eight boys in the accident. So it affected eight families. Four did live, four did not make it. Our son was one of them that did not make it. And when they walked up to, I'm going to give you the very short version because this, we really want to hear from you. But when whoever it was walked up to the top of the hill, I don't remember who it was, that fog that, we're in post an event like that. They told us Landon didn't make it. And my wife's first comment to me was, we can't let this break us. And my immediate response back to her, without even really thinking, honestly, was we can't add anything negative to this. And as horrific as it has been, like you said, we can't fix this, right? We can't fix what has happened. It's beyond words, painful and hard. And your situation is even more family members than what I experienced. But for whatever reason, it just hit me that it didn't make sense. It made no common sense to make it worse. Now, that doesn't mean every day there's not the challenges that you and I face, but I will tell you, not to my credit, but to other family members, I have some very, very strong roots of mental toughness in my family. And it sounds like maybe you do as well. And while that therapist helped to uncover it, one of my questions was, um, where does some of your mental toughness that came out, where was that rooted that your therapist found within you? Because obviously your brother had it, you had four other siblings. I'm just curious if there's anything you've thought back to the strength of a parent or your sibling, your brother, like you said, have you thought about where that's rooted, where that came from? Because I can't imagine the therapist just all of a sudden like, poof, here's mental toughness, and you're going to process it from that day going forward. But I'm curious, if you have thought back to that, or if right now you would know where that inspiring mental toughness comes from for you to continue to process what he said and then figure out how to grow it.
Yeah, first of all, I'm so sorry about your kid. I
Thank you.
think having a kid is one of the best things you can do as a human, like the experience of it. But it's equally like losing a kid, that that's the worst. So I'm sorry you had to go through that.
Yeah, thank you.
I married an incredible woman, Courtney. I mean, I could talk about her for hours. She was a nurse. Courtney was, Courtney was just purely good. Like, and what I mean by that is like no reward for heaven, no brownie points, no blessings needed. Like she was just good for good's sake. Like, and I think that's what it truly means to be good. Like you're not gonna get a pat on the back. No one actually sees it. No one actually cares. Can you actually still be good in that moment? And that was Courtney. And so my childhood, I was the youngest of five. I think I had incredible parents. the way my dad raised me combined with sports. I played sports growing up. I mean, it sounds so silly, but like playing basketball growing up, you just, you make a mistake, you make a turnover, and I had a hell of a good high school coach, and Knicks play, like it's done, it's over. Like if you dwell on that, like you're screwing up the rest of the game. That could be won or whatever. Like, and is it good that it happened? No. Do we like turnovers? No, but like you need to keep going. And then just waking up, like I wanted to play college basketball. I'm a 5'9" white kid from Utah. Like I didn't know it at the time, but do you know the chances of me playing Division I basketball? Not good. And I worked my ass off. And I think I developed the skill of doing things I didn't want to do. Like I did that every day for a long time because of sports. There's so many days I didn't want to go weightlifting or running or go shoot or whatever. But it instilled in me this idea. I know even though I hate doing it, like something good's gonna come from it because just from the simple fact that I hate it. And that's every day of my life now. I wake up and I hate it. And I don't like saying that because I still have Blue and I'm dating again and I have a great girlfriend. I have a lot of things to be grateful for, but in a very real sense, I still hate it. And then the other thing that sports taught me, and this might be the most crucial one that really saved my life, was this concept of the team first. We is greater than me. And I just have a quick high school basketball story. Can I share it real quick?
Heck yeah.
It just kind of sums up what I'm saying. But I was a good high school basketball player. My senior year, we ended up winning the state championship. And we beat this team called Lone Peak. They're really good. They were going for a three-peat. And we're from West Jordan. We're like the ghetto Jaguars, like have no business being there. And we win this thing. We win the state championship. And I was first team all state. I was region 3 most outstanding player. Like I was good. So I go play college basketball the next year and it's Christmas break. And so I go home and it's Friday night and we're not doing much. And so I'm like, I'm going to go catch a game at my old high school. And so like I was such a dumb kid, but I put on my state championship ring and I get in my car and I remember driving to the high school like I'm Mason Sawyer. Like they're gonna lose their minds. They're gonna go crazy. Like maybe if they don't have a halftime show, like who knows? They give me a shout out. Like I don't know. Like we just won state. Like I'm excited now. So I get to my high school and I have to pay to get into the game, which was not a good sign. Like that'll be $5. I'm like, okay. So I walk into the gym and it's packed. It's packed. And the band is still there. Why is the band there? The band's still there. And the cheerleader there flipping around. It's packed. My old coach is there. And I find a seat and I sit down and no one gives a shit. No one cares. No one cared. Not a tap on the shoulder. No, people moved on. And no one cares. And I bring this up when I do a lot of public speaking. And I'll prove it to them. I'm like, guys, no one cares. And I'll ask the crowd a couple questions. And I've spoken to high school football teams, college football teams, and I'll ask these football teams. I'll say, who won the Super Bowl 3 years ago? No one has any idea. No one has any idea. And then I'll ask them another one. Who's the 23rd president of the United States? No one knows. No one's been able to answer it. And then I'll go 24th, 25th. No one knows. And then I'll say, you can be the president of the United States. No one's going to care. And then I'll ask one more. I'll say, does anyone know the name of your great 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 grandfather? No one knows. And then I'll tell the crowd, all that money you've saved, that kingdom you think you've built, your own family won't know your name. And then I just sit there in silence for a little bit. Like, who hired this guy? This is the motivational speaker. Like, screw this. Like, what's the point of anything? And we're just kind of sitting in this, like, what is going on? And then the next slide, I have this beautiful quote. It's this Greek proverb, and I'll probably butcher it, but it goes along the lines of men plant trees in whose shade they shall never sit. And that's it. And that's, again, that's what I learned from Courtney. Can you be good simply to be good? Not because your name will be remembered, because no one's actually going to care. Can you still be good? Because it does matter. The legacy you leave behind and how you raise your kids and all those things, it does matter in terms of the next generation. But in terms of you being remembered, no. It's the ultimate we is greater than me. And I learned that in sports. And the best part of my game, I mean, I was a good player, but I was a passer. Like, as good as I was probably the third best player on my team. We had a guy named Reyes who went to Nebraska, a guy named Jordan that went to SUU. Like, we had some hoopers. And that's why I was a good basketball player is I put teammates first. That's what I did as a father and as a husband. And that's what I'm doing with my grief. And listen, when I wake up and I think about me, they're not good days. I don't make it out of bed those days sometimes. Sure. Not good. But if I can wake up and think about the we, and that's what my therapist reminded me of. Like, dude, this isn't about you. This is the we. And that team mindset, that has really helped me like see my situation as an actual opportunity. Because when I think of me, it doesn't really seem like an opportunity at all.
Hey, I tell you, Mason, there'll be high school kids that I coach that I know will listen to this. And, one thing we tell them all the time is, like athletics is fun, but the lessons that we're trying to teach them will last a lifetime, So the fact that, even in some of the most extreme adversity known to man, you can still pull from we is greater than me, or next play, or some of those things that your high school coaches, taught into you is amazing. Coach Potts?
Yeah, man, so much wisdom that you shared there. Honestly, I would love to connect with you outside of the podcast if you're open to, coach and I sharing our information back and forth. But I do have another question about something you referenced that was something that did end up helping my wife and I. And I think it is still something when we focus on it, like you said, instead of focusing on us, when we focus on a different perspective. But you brought up, what would your wife do or think, or what would your kids do or think? And we've thought about that. It's like, how would Landon be if I passed? If I passed, how would I want Landon to continue living? If it was me in place of him, or what would Landon want based on how he lived? What would he want if he was looking down over us and looking at his mom and his dad? Like, how would he want us to live? Would he want us to curl up in a corner, or would he want us to go and share the story and live? And so that perspective helped us. And you referenced something about that. I don't know if that came through therapy or something on your own, but does that help you in thinking about that perspective? Obviously, you've told us the goodness of your wife, but in kind of how what she would want of you, does that help, or anything you would add to that?
No, I think I mean, I don't know what it was like for you losing your kid, but I just like the survivor's guilt. Like, I have so much guilt that I get to experience anything, and my kids don't, my wife doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a part of me that just wants to be miserable. Like, let's just be miserable then, because then it's like equal, maybe. Like, I'm miserable, so it's fine. I don't know. So you just sit in this misery for so long, and then you get this new form of guilt that you just talked about, where like, wait, like Courtney wouldn't want me to do this. And I wouldn't want her to do this either. Like, I'd want her to be happy, as impossible as that may be.
Yeah.
And so then I'm like, yeah, okay. And Riggins, like, he'd want me to be happy. Like, I'll live for them. Yeah. And then you kind of get in, you have so much energy and passion. And then I do all this 1090 stuff. And then boom, survivor's guilt. Like, you're a piece of shit. Like, how dare you be happy at all? Like, someone that lost what you lost should never. And so then you're just hit with all this guilt and shame, and it shuts you down. Or at least that's what it was like for me. And it's just this roller. I mean, grief for me has just been up and down, left and right. There's nothing linear about it. You're through all the stages in one day, or you're stuck in one for months. It's just even acceptance. Like, you don't reach the stage of acceptance. Like, I've accepted it now. Like, maybe tomorrow you don't, and it's a terrible day. Like, it's just, but I mean, back to what I said though, and what you were getting at, like keeping in mind how they'd want me to live, keeping in mind the we is greater than me, keeping in mind all those things definitely helps me deal with it for
Yeah.
sure. Because before I was just drinking, smoking, sleep, like just numbing the pain.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you sharing, man.
But
It's
and I'd love to connect. We can swap numbers after or whatever, but
yeah.
maybe if where are you guys even from? Sorry, where are you guys from? What state?
We're from Missouri. The show
Dude, if I
Missouri.
ever, I'd love to see, I'd love to have you guys on my podcast. But another thing that I believe in with 10, and I don't mean this in any slight to you guys at all, but another thing I believe in is showing up. So every podcast I do on 1090, like it's face to face. Either I come to you or you come to me. But if I ever get to Missouri, if you guys ever come out to Utah, I'd love to get you guys on. But I kind of make things hard on myself that way. I have that stupid rule, and sometimes I wish I didn't have it.
Yeah, that's a
I
that's
love
a
it.
tough one. See you, man. See you, Chance.
Yeah.
Well, Mason, man, I appreciate it, and I do want to get y'all hooked up because he has stepped off for a meeting, but you know that the example and the growth, you know, and he's 10 years removed, whereas you're a lot closer to it, has been, you know, phenomenal that they have influenced so many people in his community in such a positive manner. How has, you know, when you do share the message, when you do you feel, you know, do you feel the goodness of being able to help other people? You know, do you feel that?
Yeah, I do, and I get a lot of cool messages, and I love public speaking because I feel so close to them, especially before I go on. I have like a really powerful meditating connection with them, and I love that feeling, and kind of hooked on public speaking because of that. Um, but yeah, dude, I've gotten so like I've gotten so many cool messages, but another thing I've learned is everyone is hurting and going through it. Like, good luck finding someone that doesn't have a sad story. Like, we all got one.
Yeah.
We just don't talk about it, dude. No one
Sure.
talks about it. And then we like vent our anger in the most weirdest ways. Like, we yell at the TV for a college football game. Like, why are you yelling at that ref? He can't hear you. You're not mad at the ref. You're mad at whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or road rage, whatever it is. Like, we like, and that's something I'm learning about people is like, oh, like you're not talking about your pain, your shame, your guilt, your agony. And so no wonder you're yelling at everyone on the road or whatever it is. But yeah.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I think, you know, and I heard a speaker about 10 years ago give a speech, and his name is Damon West, and he is now one of the bigger public speakers in the world, the coffee bean guy, if you've never heard of him. Well, I heard his message like he was a big time burglar. Like he was the downtown Dallas, Texas downtown burglar. And like this dude gets a life sentence in prison and ends up getting out of prison and completely turns his life around. And his message is amazing. Well, when I heard it, it was a 14-minute video. I just like you, like I started figuring out how to get in touch with him, and I call him and I bring him to Pearl, Mississippi to speak to our entire school. And because perspective matters, like you said, everybody has mess, like everybody has mess. And yes, there's different levels of mess, but mess exists in this world. And my mess is as real to me as your mess is to you. Like everybody struggles and they don't share and they don't. But what I do know is this: when you show up and you give your message, like it makes my mess better. Like it makes me understand that, look, I got mess, but man, my mess could be so much worse. Like, what am I really worried about, right? Like, how can we not sit around and drink ourselves to death, smoke, or, to deal with the anxiety and the issues that we have in this world? How can we learn to respond better? How can we learn to open up and share with people? How can we learn to try to add value to other people's life? And that's Damon West is going to speak to a different group somewhere in this United States of America every day of his life. And he does that for him as much as he does for the other people, because it is his therapy as well as their therapy. And to me, I know you've got that message in you to give to help other people through their struggle. Now I also know this, like the old Cherokee saying, like, which wolf are you going to feed? Right.
Yeah.
We got both of them. And if, just like you, if you're left to, that negative wolf, then man, yeah, like it does get really hard. But if you can continually feed the positive wolf, and the positive wolf is, being able to share your mess, being able to pour into other people, because dude, you got a lot in you to pour into other people. Like you are truly a blessing to me, and you're a blessing to the people that you come in contact with. And all I would, like my deal is you need to keep doing it, man. You need to keep sharing it. You need to keep getting in front of people, because you will have a way of making other people better, and to be honest, that's what we're here for. And like you said before, like the good Lord didn't say bad things wasn't going to happen to good people. Like that ain't part of the deal. Like bad things do happen, unfortunately. Like I wish they didn't, but we live in a fallen world, so they do. So now, like, are we going to sit around and worry about it, or are we going to sit around and try to add value to other people? And I think you have, through whatever your course of action, you have decided to try to add value to other people, because just as simple as your Instagram video, like it impacted me. I mean, I'm in Nixon, Missouri, right? Like
That's pretty cool.
it's crazy. But I mean, you do get that from time to time, because you're going to get somebody that messages you. But, like I've also seen when Damon West came to Nixon, Missouri, and he leaves, I have a kid in the school building that reaches out to Damon and says, look, man, my life's not going good. I'm smoking, I'm drinking, I'm doing this. I don't want to do that no more. Because I saw you, because you told us, what road you had to go through and where you come. He's like, I don't want to do that no more. Like, I want to change my life. So I know the power that people have, a freaking mess that is willing to share it. I know what that can do for other people. And you're going to do that for a lot of people in this world, what I'm saying, as well as your son. Because, another thing is this: your son is going to see the mess, but he's gonna catch what give off. You know what I'm saying? Like sometimes kids don't listen to their parents worth of crap, right? Like my kid will listen to the theater teacher 10 times faster than they'll listen to me. But I'm gonna tell you what my kid does catch. My kid does catch my work ethic. My kid does catch what time I go to work. My kid does catch when I have kids in my house, to talk to them. And, like your kid's gonna catch the behaviors that you have. And, you've got a ton of things moving forward that you could be extremely great at. Tell me about the podcast. Like, where did the thought to start the podcast come from? What came first? The Instagram, the public speaking, the podcast? Like where did that all fit in?
Yeah, so my therapist tells me, like, this is an opportunity for you to help people. So I'm like, okay, like, okay, like what, how do I do that? Like, it sounds good on paper. What does that look like? Like, what do I do? And I graduated with a degree in psychology. And so I had the idea, like, I should go back to school, get a master's in psych, and then I can be a grief counselor. Like, I think I'll be good at that. I experienced a lot of grief. Like, and then I'm like, I cannot do a master's program. Like, I'm really going, like, so obviously that's off the table, but that's kind of my long-term goal. So then I'm like, well, what else could I do? And so the idea to start a podcast, like, well, talking about it is helping me. Maybe I'll record it and I'll just upload it and start a podcast. So I bought like this little podcast kit from Amazon and
Yep.
in my basement, literally just trying to figure out how to start a podcast. And I've also just been, people from all over the world have reached out to me since the accident, sending me whatever and just saying prayers, whatever, very nice. And there's so many people that I just can't message all of them back.
Sure.
But anyway, so the 1 year mark of the car accident is coming up. So the car accident happened July 25th, 2021. So now it's July 25th, 2022. And so I get the idea of I'm going to post my first episode on July 25th, 2022. And I'm going to do my first speaking gig. Well, I didn't really plan on being a public speaker at the time, but I plan to do a speaking gig. And I just wanted to tell people thank you, let them know kind of how I was doing and some things I've learned about my experience. And so that's what I did. And so I reached out to my buddies, and where I played college basketball at Utah Tech, they like reserved a room for me to speak at. I invited anyone to come. The place ends up being packed. There's like 250 people in this place all of a sudden, which I'm like, well, okay. So I talked for about an hour and 20 minutes. They recorded it. I didn't know they would do that. They uploaded on YouTube. And then I just get people like you, like they just hit like, will you come speak to our boys' home? Will you come speak to our high school? Will you come speak to our construction company? Will you like whatever it's been? And it's kind of where it started. And I fell in love with, I went from never talking about it to now I just can't shut up. I just want to talk about it all the time. So I started a podcast to do that.
Well, I love it, and I have started listening to it, and it's really good. And you know what will be next on your, what will be next for you? Now, I'm not trying to tell you what to do because that's not, but you know, writing a book has got to be on your mind because you know it just seems natural because you do have a message, man, and you do have you know something that can greatly help other folks as we go through this. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate you, you know, sharing your heart, opening up. You know, what I want to help you do is spread your message. You know, I think the 1090 message is spectacular. You know, like in my world, I call it the R factor, and it's kind of one of the things that I teach, but it's the 1090 rule. It is what it is, you know, like how we respond to life's events is all that we really can control, you know. And my most impactful book that I've ever read is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl.
I love that book.
Man's Search for Meaning, you know, like, and I think about that book all the time because, you know, we'll have adversity in our life. And I think, man, Viktor Frankl, he would definitely trade places with me. You know, like he just would. I mean,
Yeah.
he had it worse. You know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah.
you know, I do think perspective means a lot. You know what I mean? So, anyway, anything else you'd like to share before we hop off?
No, I just thank you, man. You sound like you're a great coach and you know what you're doing. And being a high school coach is hard, man. So I hope you keep doing what you're doing. You have a chance to impact all those kids. And I know I'm younger than you and you got all the experience and you already know this, but like I think it helps to hear it again, even from me. Like I think you have a very important job. My high school coaches impacted my life greatly. And I know it doesn't feel like it or seem like it. Like, does anyone even care about these messages I'm giving you? But like, you could like keep at it, man. Yeah, and good luck next football season, man.
I appreciate it, and I appreciate the kind words, man. I love being a coach. The thing I love about it more than anything is the opportunity to try to put into kids things that will come out later on. Like I'm a seed planter, man. I'm trying to plant seeds so that when they have their adversity, and they're gonna have it, right? At some point in time, we're all gonna go through really bad things. I hope that there's been things put in them like were put in you. I hope they think, team first, we's greater than me. Like I hope that, we've done something to help them, because I know this, and just like you do, there's multiple ways to handle adversity. One of which is to drink yourself to death, right? Like there's plenty of people that do that, I mean, like I don't want them, I don't want them to take that route. Like I want to try, and I think about that, as silly as it may be, as a high school football coach, like I know how tough life can be on everybody and the skills that it's going to take to make it in this world, man. Like we're trying to teach it right now, when they are young and impressionable. And, but I'm super thankful for you, man. Anything I can do for you in the future, to try to get you to Missouri, to try to promote your podcast, to promote your message. I'll send my information, and I do want to get you hooked up with Coach Potts, man. Fantastic human that has more, been through, some of what you've been through, and has come out of it, as a very impactful human to other people, So I pray that you will keep fighting the good fight and keep sharing your message, and,
Yes,
keep hope alive, man, because you've done a fantastic job so far, and I pray for the best for you.
yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you for being on. I
Hey,
appreciate.
real quick. I love turn your message, man. I might steal that one. That was good,
Hey, I
dude.
would appreciate it if the next time you go live, you say you we all can turn our mess into a message. And you ain't gonna give me no credits, man. You create that yourself. All right. I hope everybody that listened has enjoyed it. I hope you've been inspired. I hope you will go follow Mason Sawyer on Instagram for sure, because he's, there's lots of great sound bites on Instagram. That's fantastic. Pull up his website. You can get in touch with him, the1090.com. I'll put that in the show notes. The Instagram is my favorite. I don't know. Like I get caught up watching those things, and very inspiring. And then you can follow him on Facebook, and I'll put all that in there. Until next time, adios, amigos.
Thanks.